sound that no government in power ever wants to hear. It is not the sound of a court ruling. It is not the sound of a press conference. It is not the sound of a strongly worded statement from the opposition or a critical editorial in a newspaper. It is the sound of a crowd. A real crowd. An unscripted crowd. The kind that does not need to be bussed in from distant communities or motivated by the promise of food and cash. The kind that wakes up on its own, leaves its house on its own, and makes its way to a public space simply because something is happening that it refuses to miss. That sound filled the city of Abakaliki recently. And it carried a message that traveled far beyond the streets of Ebonyi State, straight into the political calculations of everyone watching the 2027 race from a distance. 16 days before the NDC conducts its presidential primaries, one man arrived in a city and was received the way leaders are received when people genuinely believe in them. Not with the manufactured enthusiasm of a political rally funded by government resources, but with the raw, unfiltered energy of a population that has made up its mind. What did he say when he stood before that crowd? What promise did he make? And what does the scene in Abakaliki tell us about where the 2027 election is truly heading? Everything is coming. Do not move. If you are new here, subscribe right now and turn on your notification bell. The city of Abakaliki, capital of Ebonyi State in Nigeria's southeast, was not prepared for what arrived within its streets. As Peter Obi's convoy made its way into the city, the reception that greeted him was the kind that political consultants spend entire careers trying to engineer and almost never achieve. Crowds lined the streets. Voices rose together, chanting his name alongside that of his northern partner, Rabiu Kwankwaso. The energy was immediate, genuine, and overwhelming. Obi Kwankwaso, Obi Kwankwaso. Those words, rising from thousands of throats simultaneously, were not rehearsed. They were not coordinated by event planners or party officials holding clipboards. They came from people, ordinary Nigerians, living in a city that, like every other city across this country, has felt the full weight of the economic hardship that has defined life under the current administration. The crowd in Abakaliki was telling a story. It was the story of a Nigeria where fuel costs have pushed transportation beyond the reach of daily workers, where food prices have turned 3 meals a day into a luxury that millions of families can no longer consistently afford, where electricity, clean water, functional roads, and accessible healthcare, the basic infrastructure of a dignified life, have become things that ordinary Nigerians speak about with longing rather than expectation. These are not abstract policy complaints. These are the lived daily realities of the people who showed up on those streets. And their presence was their loudest possible statement that they have seen enough, endured enough, and waited long enough. Into that atmosphere stepped Peter Obi. Standing before a crowd buzzing with anticipation, Obi delivered a message that was both familiar and deeply necessary. He acknowledged the pain. He named the failures. He did not dress up Nigeria's current condition in diplomatic language or soften the edges of a reality that his audience lives with every single day. He spoke plainly about what the APC government has done to Nigeria, the poverty it has deepened, the opportunities it has squandered, and the institutions it has weakened in the pursuit of self-preservation. And then he made a promise. It was not a new promise in its essence. Obi has been consistent in his message across every platform and every rally he has addressed. But in the context of Abakaliki, delivered to a crowd that received it with the kind of joy that comes from people who have been waiting a very long time to feel hope again, the promise landed with particular force. He promised to rescue Nigeria, to rebuild what has been broken, to restore what has been taken, to govern a country that has been treated as a personal asset by those in power and return it to the people it was always meant to serve. When those words left his mouth, the crowd responded with an eruption of joy that was difficult to watch without feeling something, because what you were witnessing was not excitement about a politician. It was the release of years of accumulated frustration finding, finally, a legitimate outlet. That is the energy surrounding Peter Obi 16 days before the NDC conducts its presidential primaries. And about those primaries, the picture is straightforward. At this point, Peter Obi stands as the sole declared presidential aspirant on the NDC platform. There is no competitive primary battle to report, no internal divisions over multiple candidates, pulling the party in different directions. The primaries, when they are conducted, are widely expected to be uncontested, a formal process that confirms what is already understood by everyone inside and outside the party. What this means in practical terms is that the NDC's energy and attention are not being consumed by internal competition. The party is not distracted by the kind of primary season infighting that historically weakens political organizations before they even reach the general election campaign. Every resource, every conversation, every organizational effort is already pointed in one direction toward November 2027 and the contest that truly matters. This is a significant structural advantage. Compare it to the APC, which is dealing with internal governor clashes, Senate leadership disputes, and a steady stream of defections that are forcing the ruling party to fight battles on multiple fronts simultaneously. Or to the ADC, which remains entangled in court cases, deregistration suits, and leadership disputes that have paralyzed its ability to function as a coherent political organization. The NDC, by contrast, is calm, organized, moving forward with purpose. Central to that forward movement is the partnership that has become the defining feature of the opposition's 2027 strategy, the combination of Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso's contribution to this alliance cannot be overstated. His political roots in Kano and his influence across the Northwest give the OK movement a northern foundation that transforms it from a regional movement into a genuinely national force. In previous election cycles, a candidate from the Southeast faced the structural challenge of being perceived as a regional candidate whose appeal did not extend convincingly into the North. The Kwankwaso partnership dismantles that perception directly. When northern voters see Kwankwaso standing beside Obi, not as a reluctant coalition partner but as an energetic, committed ally, it changes the calculation. It tells northern communities that this is not a southern candidate asking for their votes. It is a partnership that includes their voice, their region, and their political leadership at the highest level. The Abakaliki rally added to a growing body of evidence that the OK movement's appeal is not concentrated in any single region. From Kano to Abakaliki, from Kaduna to Lagos, the movement has demonstrated an ability to draw genuine crowds and generate authentic enthusiasm in every part of the country it has visited. That geographic consistency is what makes the NDC's 2027 prospects so compelling to analyze. Presidential elections in Nigeria are ultimately won by candidates who can demonstrate credible support across multiple regions simultaneously. Single region dominance, no matter how overwhelming, is insufficient for national victory. The candidate who wins must show that they are not just the choice of their home base, but a choice that resonates across the diverse, complex, and often divided landscape of Nigerian political geography. The evidence accumulating around Obi and Kwankwaso suggests that the OK movement is building precisely that kind of broad national coalition, not through the transactional politics of cash distributions and patronage arrangements, but through something more durable, a shared frustration with the status quo and a shared belief that Nigeria is capable of being governed far better than it currently is. 16 days from now, the formal process of confirming Obi as the NDC presidential candidate will be completed. After that, the campaign moves into its next and most critical phase, the direct contest against the APC and whatever opposition landscape remains standing by the time 2027 arrives. The crowd in Abakaliki already knows what it wants. Millions of Nigerians across the country are reaching the same conclusion through their own individual experiences of a Nigeria that has fallen short of what it owes its people. The question that 2027 will answer is not whether those Nigerians exist. They clearly do. The question is whether their numbers, their organization, and their determination on election day will be enough to translate the energy of streets like Abakaliki into the result that changes Nigeria's story. If the momentum continues to build at the pace it is currently moving, that answer may already be taking shape. This is Nigeria News Media, and we'll be right here, covering every development as the 2027 countdown continues. See you in the next video.